Hello, and welcome again to another episode of 5 Plain Questions, a podcast that proposes 5 questions to Indigenous artists, creators, musicians, writers, movers and shakers, and culture bearers, people in the community that are doing great things for their communities. I'm Joe Williams, your host for this conversation. My goal is to showcase these amazing people in our Indigenous communities from around the region and country. I want to introduce you to Talon Bazille Ducheneaux. Talon Bazille Ducheneaux is a rap artist, producer, and sound designer from the Cheyenne River, Lakota, and Crow Creek, Dakota tribes. He currently serves as the manager of Wicahpi Olowan music program recording studio through First Peoples Funds and Playing for the Change Foundation, and located at the Oglala Lakota Art Space in Kyle, South Dakota. His albums, like Creator Bless the Underground and WCWW, are in the rap and hip-hop genres, but are mixed with flavors of philosophy and cultural stemming from his Dakota and Lakota backgrounds, struggle, resilience, and persistence. Bazille also creates soundscapes, several in the Oscar Howe Legacy Show at USD, a multi-directional piece for Keith Braveheart's Creation Story, exhibited at the Dull Art Center, and Relative, with Deani Whitehawk and Leah Hale at the Pennsylvania Academy for the Fine Arts. His first step into doing work for theater plays was assisting with the sound design for the We the Peoples Before program at the Kennedy Center in 2022. However, his first official venture into sound design was 1 year later for Cornerstone Theater Company's Icon, written by Larissa Fasthorse and directed by Marco Garces, which was workshopped and toured throughout Native communities in South Dakota. He has continued to work in sound design as Indigenous music consultant for another play, For the People, written by Ty Defoe and Larissa Fasthorse, directed by Michael Garces. It premiered at the Guthrie Theater in October and November of 2023. So, let's jump into this conversation with Talon Bazille Ducheneaux. Talon Bazille Ducheneaux, welcome so much to 5 Plain Questions. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to.
Yeah. So, would you be able to introduce yourself? Tell us about your background, what it is, where you're from, and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. Wicahpi. My name is Talon Bazille Ducheneaux. Wakina Chante wa Okia Wichasha Emachapilo. My Lakota name is The Thunders Help His Heart Help Others. I am Lakota and Dakota. I'm from South Dakota in general, as I move so much. But originally, on my mom's side, I'm from Crow Creek, Fort Thompson area in central South Dakota. And my father's side, also central South Dakota, the Cheyenne River, Sioux Tribe, Eagle Butte, South Dakota. I kind of consider both those places my two homes and hometowns, childhood homes. And now today, I live in Rapid City. I am a rapper, producer, engineer, sound designer. I manage a music program called Wicahpi Olowan Music Program through First Peoples Fund and Playing for Change Foundation on the Oglala Res here in South Dakota. And yeah, I try to surround myself with music and different ways that I can do like community work or use it in a way that's like good. Yeah, that's what I am.
Right on. We're influenced a lot in our lives by people and places around us, and that changes over time. And I was just wondering if could you talk about your influences? What influenced you as a young kid, and what and who is influencing you today?
Yeah, as a young kid, I was lucky enough to grow up in like the VHS cassette tape era where like CDs were still like, they were prominent, but they were still kind of new. And both of my parents were kind of music geeks themselves. My dad was a big Metallica head when they first came out. And so he had all of the albums. My mom was like very into Janet Jackson, but also George Strait and all these different things. So I grew up hearing a lot of different stuff, but it wasn't until I came across their cross section, which was, or seemed to be hip hop and rap that they both listened to. But they had always had those kind of hidden away from me. They were trying to be like strict good parents. And I appreciate that, but I still dug through and I found like Tupac probably a couple years after he had passed away. I was a young kid. And there was something about listening to the way he delivered and what he was talking about outside of like certain types of song that really, really resonated with me, spoke to me in terms of like, I know that's what I want, like how I want to do it. Because at the time I was watching like, or I was listening to on cassette tapes like Billy Squier and Quiet Riot and all these different bands, and I'm imagining them on stage, and I can't imagine myself playing instruments, but I remember thinking like there's some way where I can be on stage and try to do the things I'm imagining they're doing. But as I got older, people started showing me, hey, there's other natives doing this. And I was given a CD of someone from Eagle Butte, Maniac the Supernatural, who's also Lakota from Cheyenne River. And, that changed my life in terms of like just seeing how things could be tangible, but also his style and everything was like exactly what spoke to me as coming from somebody from Eagle Butte and living in that area and what that all comes with, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so too could be said for later on as I'm starting to rap and I know about Maniac and these native artists now, and I'm trying to do things. And then an uncle slides me the Derelict, aka Shari the Vagabond, who's a Lakota, half Black from Rapid City artist, and very underground and like super real, like just very political. And like he was saying stuff in 2007 that people clamor over now, but I listen to that stuff now and I'm like, he was saying this way back then and just nobody listening, if anything, getting like flack for it. And that inspired me. Like I started looking to those guys as like my big iconic like mentors. And when I approached them too as a kid, like I approached Maniac in 6th grade, I approached Derelict in 9th, and to this day they're my mentor. They hit me up, they reach out, they see how I'm doing, they collaborate with me. I owe a lot of loyalty to those guys. So they've like really become a big part of that. But too, as I went to college and all these things, finding other people in history now, like Buddy Redbow, Peter Lafarge, different native musicians. I already knew about Jackie Bird. She had always been my hero. But like knowing more about and understanding more about their plight and like the types of sacrifices they made and make still today, to do the music the way that they do it, with the type of heart that they did it or do it still, that inspires me a lot. Because today there's times where I'm performing for 3 people, or I just did a middle of nowhere festival in Iowa where 70% are like farmers and landowners and 30% are like people just aching to hear something real. So I'm used, but then sometimes I'm with a bunch of native kids, so then I adjust my set and try to make it meaningful. And that comes from especially Jackie Bird. Like she has a story for every song she does. She has a lesson to kids for every like part of her set in a way that's not corny, but it is instead like very like happy and honest. And I strive to be that in my life. I don't know if I'll ever attain such peace, but I look up to all of those guys for that.
Yeah. There's something to be said about having great mentors, but the flip side of that is for mentors to have good mentees, those younger who invest their efforts into what they're doing. And so it sounds like, with your reflection here, that you were one of those key mentees that they were fortunate to have and are still able to have, throughout their lives, and as your career and space is growing.
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying to be that. They're amazing at what they do, and like even live performance and stuff. They're like them not being the biggest thing and media right now like upsets me. So when I'm out there, I try to, like, as you said, like, just kind of demonstrate, like, if you like me and who I am, you know, you should pay respect to these guys, because that's like a big fire in me. But yeah, I hope I make them so that way.
I feel you. There are many folks on this podcast that I can't understand why they're not known to everybody. You know, they are definitely on par with their peers, their non-native peers in the country. You know, and it, you know, but that they don't need that validation though, right? They are doing the good work in their communities. Well, let's talk about your career. How has that developed in college and post college? How can you walk us through that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my career is very interesting in that when I first started, I was in high school and I would just pass out CDs for free. I didn't know, as some of those people were asking multiple copies from me, because then they were going around selling it for 20. I'm a bad hustler. And like, but I was so excited about people listening to it. I was like, you know what? Sell it, because like, you know, people I don't, and I don't, you know, get all around their heads like that. So it started as like very just kind of like humble style. In college, all of my albums were free. I think I released like 7 to 9 albums in college. Just like all my free time went to that. I was in Philadelphia for college, so I would go to record stores every second week and flea markets, and would just like, there was one basement where you could get like 50 of them for $1 or 25 cents a piece. So we'd do that, and then we'd go back to the room, and like, I was just making stuff all the time back then. And to be honest, I was studying psychology. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm gonna maybe go into counseling therapy. Maybe I had also had kind of an aspiration of doing like some sort of support, like guidance counselor support for kids in high school, aspiring to go to college, things like that. But then as I was like doing all of this, I started realizing that maybe college, what our psychology in that regard wasn't my like thing, or that I'm really passionate about truly, or that like I'm fully invested in. And that really haunted me, because I wanted to be a psychologist my whole life. Like, my dad got his PhD in clinical psych when I was a little kid, and he was the first in his family to do that. And so like, I saw the work that he was doing, and I'm like, I want to do that. I saw like the things he's studying, and I'm like, I want to learn about that, the mind and all of that stuff. But I'm releasing these free projects, and then all of a sudden I'm performing more, getting asked to perform more. And I started bringing out artists to Philly too. Like, we brought Frank Wan, Defy, Night Shield, Sam Samson, Tall Paul, Wake Self, rest in peace. We brought these different artists out, and then I did a weekly hip hop radio show. In college, I was looking at music therapy programs for grad school, but the requirements for pretty much all at the time, I'm pretty sure it's different now. At the time, it was solely classical guitar, classical piano, which are fine. But where I'm from and where I was kind of envisioning, I didn't envision like classical anything. I envisioned traditional, and I envisioned modern. I envisioned things around production or even rap, and formulating that into an actual like practice. There just wasn't anything like that, and interdisciplinary really scared me. Also too, being away from home for so long, and like, because I stayed an extra 2 years to work, it really kind of took its toll on me. Like, the family I have at home, it's not it's not super like traditional. They're prayerful people and they are traditional people. But I got a lot of crazy family. And so all while I'm away, you know, this one gets thrown in, this one's dead, this one has a new kid. I was just missing so much. And even just like the way of being, it got to me. So I kind of halted things and went back home. I was trying to figure out work and do music on the side still. I was still treating it like how I was in college. But then an artist, Frank Wan, actually told me about First Peoples Fund. And he was like, you should do a fellowship with them because they'll show you like the business ins and outs of it. But then you could use that fellowship grant money to like make your own album and like really do it professionally. And I applied for it. But as I was applying, I started thinking to myself, because, you know, I was getting different musicians from back home wanting to record with me or have me record them. There's a disparity in Crow Creek, for example, where the first artist that came to record with me, they're like, yeah, man, this other guy tried to like record me, but he was charging me $100 a song. And like that's in the poorest county in the nation. You know, it's unreal. So I used my fellowship instead to do what became the Wonak Day studio, where we were just recording people there and seeing what comes of it. Had like 20 plus artists, Dakota and Lakota artists on a compilation album at the end. But over time, right, it fused those things together because then from that work and performing still and doing all of that, First Peoples Fund later have now brought me on to be the program manager of the Wicahpi Olowan music program at the Lakota Art Space, which is essentially that program or the fellowship that I had on like steroids, where, you know, we're working with Playing for Change Foundation, a really, really great organization, so supportive and like helping us achieve this vision the way we want to. But yeah, like as I'm serving artists now through this program, I'm finding that in my own way, I'm kind of nestling into maybe not a direct therapy, but some form of support that's cognizant of like the mental health of it all too. Because as I work with artists, as I record them, as I introduce them to perform and talk to them in between all of that, that all plays into it for me. And my hope is that when I do talk to them, I convince them, you know, of their value, of their worth, and of their ability to like hunker down and make these things work for them.
This really rolls into the next question about opportunities. We, throughout our lives, we are presented different types of opportunities, and or on the other side of it, we create opportunities, either for ourselves or for others. And I was wondering if you could talk about that, how opportunities have presented themselves to you, and how you've been able to create opportunities for others.
For me, I don't know. I know part of it is like, it's like I'm a prayerful person, and a big part of me is like, you can pray to God or Creator or whatever you believe in all you want. You have to meet them halfway. Like you can't, it's like, oh God, you know, everything sucks. Can you please make it better? And then it just gets better. It's unrealistic. It's not how the universe works. And so for me, everything is, I have to put myself out there to some extent and like share what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, what I'm feeling, whether it be on like social media or my website or just releasing an album, talking to people. But I never have been one to go out of my way. And my mentors in college can attest to this and complain about it. So they have urged me to use the connections that I've made at Penn more, you know, to call on them, to utilize the resource, to move things for myself. I feel weird doing that sometimes. Like I like taking full advantage or like seizing an opportunity with a certain type of, I don't know, but still, I do though rely on those things and keep in mind of those, like, right now with the Wicahpi music program, my big dream is to one day have them go to Philadelphia, like maybe 5 or 6 of them. I take them there. I know the city. I can show them all the spots. We can attend performances that are going to be impactful and that are going to be community centered and that are going to be real and something that they'll take home with them. Mm-hmm. But then utilizing my pen connections there to then get them extra kind of gigs while we're visiting there, of like, let's go talk at this college and just tell them about Native music. Because that's the other thing, is everything needs to be legitimized more. Like we really need people to understand why this is an amazing thing, the different things that we do and why we've been a part of this history and why it should be documented. But so when I see the opportunities, or kind of like even vision them up in my head, I go forward in a certain extent, but there is a lot of it that is faith-based, like just having faith that something will kind of figure its way that's needed for that moment. And to be honest, with the music program, like we've been through a lot of struggle and stuff getting things off the ground. But if there's one thing that has been true, it's that whatever does end up happening ends up happening in like the perfect time. So I view opportunities of all forms like that, especially too when it comes to opportunity of like giving opportunity to others, as you were saying. When those opportunities come up, then I'm that much more prepared, because like I'm aware of what things can do for people, and that everybody has their own kind of mission and goal. So I keep in mind too that like, hey, I may not be, that may not be my finish line, but this runner over here has that finish line. So let me figure a way to vector that.
It's I really feel what you're saying. In my own profession, as an illustrator, I have I'm a storyboard artist, and I really have stopped myself. And this is a personal thing. I don't advise other people to do this, but I have people in influential places where I could probably just easily reach out to them and say, "Hey, bring me out to your project. I want to do this," and maybe they would, maybe they won't. But I'm from the Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate. I was raised on the res, and there's sort of this associated guilt about promoting yourself or talking yourself up, and so I really feel like that's a block in my own professional space there. On the flip side, though, I have no issue with bringing people that I've met to the folks that I know and say, "Hey, you should meet this person. Let me introduce you guys," and they make the connection. And I feel pure joy when something comes from that, or when those two just start talking. I'm so happy for both people to meet and to see what they can create. And so to a degree of what you're talking about, that's I can feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what it is too, and I tell like our organization, like leaders in our org too, or the various org and donors, part of it is retraining community, because a long time ago that was taboo, what we're talking about, simply because you already would have people custom to celebrate you for you. And today we have been so like beaten by oppressor, but also in a way where it's become lateral. If someone does something good, I don't care if it's rap, rock, music, visual, or anything. But even, like it will come with a certain type of territory that didn't used to exist. Mm-hmm. Because, and a lot of people say crabs in the bucket. That's not really my favorite term. My favorite way of looking at it is like everybody has some amount of hurt, and they know that it's not right that they went through it and that things aren't fair. So in those moments when something good happens, it's like even for ourselves, there's the Survivors Guild and the different effects of like learned helplessness, but and low self-esteem as a community. But so like with the programs and the stuff we do, teaching people how to be an audience again. How do you allow yourself to get loud? How do you allow yourself to clap to the rhythm? How do you allow yourself to, what do I do with my hands when I'm in a crowd? Like simple things like that are still like, we're still relearning some of that. And I think about like, on my Dakota side, they do talk about and remind us like, and you'll hear it too when people pray in action. When someone speaks, normally our people would be responding with, like vocal reactions to show the person like, hey, I'm hearing you. I'm feeling what you're saying. And it's not that like, oh, the world's ending and everything's awful. We don't do that anymore, but it's certainly not prevalent as it was before. So we do have to kind of do that and sometimes operate like that. But my hope is that we can in some way, shape or form, slowly change community to go back to that, to where people can just be naturally celebrated before instead of having to plan their own birthday party, so to speak. Because that's what's honestly happening. Everybody is planning their own release party, their own press, their own honorings, because they have to. Nobody else is like thinking with this mind of like, hey, who are our champions this year? Should we do something at powwow to like honor the people who aren't even here throughout the year, or who are off doing this, off doing that? But it's there's too much going on at a base level to even think like that. To even think on that level feels a little privilege, which shouldn't be. It should just be norm. But I think we will get there one day. That's where my mind always goes with that.
You just took me back 30 years to when people would speak in public and those responses, or like in ceremony, or like in those group settings. Thank you for that. That hasn't something that's been shared before on this program, and I've not heard someone talk about this in this frame before. That's really important. That's really
what brings me to it too is, and that's why, like, again, like, I don't believe in escaping home. I believe in like freely traveling and being nomadic. And because of the elders back in the day too, is say, a worldview is important. And so when I'm in Philly and I'm seeing these like spoken word things go on, where there's like, before LGBT had a big support following, like when it was still like, be careful out there was like people in these poetry slams in Philly who were like trans, openly different, mixed race, from somewhere else completely. Like, just, it was, I don't know how we all found ourselves there. They even had a native guy sitting there. And but as people are talking and just pouring their souls on open mics and stages and everything, they're snapping, say that, don't be nice and all of that. And I'm like, this is literally what we were supposed to be doing. And I'm seeing how it serves them. And I'm like, okay, we need to figure a way to bring this back. And there's many ways to do it. With our open mic, like we had one last night, we had poets come through and people are learning, like not everybody knows the snap thing yet. You got to tell them. But it's cool because like by the end of that show last night, like everybody's cheering each other, like clapping loud, and it is surreal, really. But yeah, I think in my mind too, I always try to, I call it eliminating the black and white, the monochrome. Like, how does that old thing connect to me really in a way that isn't so like Wild Westy, like disconnected from me and how I live.
With all this said, what would you want to say to the 18 to 22-year-old that's listening to this conversation?
Oh man, just hang in there. Don't worry, pray. I have so many friends where like change their entire school and major senior year in spring semester, and you look even at those situations and they're your friend and you're like, damn, like I hope everything's gonna be okay. But it is, and it will be, like even in the most dire things. I think that's the best thing I can say to 18 to 22-year-old is that just to hang on, because you are going to change. You are going to evolve. You're going to cocoon and uncocoon. And not all of it's easy, but if you can make it through it, there's a lot of beautiful things that can happen, not just for you, but for other people. That's what drives me, is like not so invested in my own legacy anymore. I'm not really like, I don't know. I think what keeps me on this planet a lot of the times is, at first it was my little brother. And when my little brother passed, I was like, what do I rely on to stay alive? And it was, everybody else who still needs me. I still have nieces. I still have nephews. I still have my mom. I still have a lot of people. And then you're saying, it takes a good mentee does a lot. And I learned that last night too, like what that means. Because I've always been the younger and looking up to people and stuff. We had a band come through, and I had one of them in a music camp of mine like 5 years ago. And he was just in high school still, little kid. And now he finished his first year of college, music education. He has this band, and they came out from Crow Creek yesterday, and the band members are still like 17 themselves, and they just kill. They're amazing. And I'm like crying in the crow's nest, working the audio and like wiping my tears, and then hugging them, probably scaring them because of how like intensely I'm hugging them and telling them how proud I am of them. Yeah. But like it fueled me, because I even said when I introduced them, like I was tearing up. I was like, these guys are from my home and I really need them tonight. Like I'm so far away, or I'm not so far away from home anymore like I was in Philly, but I'm still away and I still suck. So like that they exist, that my niece, who's a rapper, does what she does, like it fills me with like a drive, a weird drive to like, make sure my body's good, to make sure I'm still doing what I'm doing, and that they can see that. And then too, that I stay like connected, because now that they're musicians, especially my nieces, they're like 20, 21, and good rapper, good singer. And I'm just like, okay, I need to make sure like people in this scene know that that's my niece, and that they remember that, because I know they know who I am, a lot of these guys.
So what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
Next for me, well, right now a lot of my focus is maintained within the music program. Like heart and soul, that thing is, I love that. I love the work I get to do through there. For my own personal work, I feel like I'm going to venture into more sound design again soon. I've been talking with this another great advocate, Michael Garces, director, works with Cornerstone Theater Company and Larissa Fast Horse, and Larissa too. Like big shout outs to her and all that like stuff she's done for me. But Michael especially, we've been talking, and I want to do more again, where I'm sound designing, even for like film, like especially for film, like a horror film. I was talking with Juliana Brown Eyes about how since I was a kid, I wanted to do sound design for music or for a video game. All of those things are still fresh in my head, even if I have to like indeed do it myself some kind of weird way, just to be able to do the sound design of it. That's what's in my mind. I have some collab projects too that are in the works with different artists. I feel like I'll always be releasing something to some extent, at least once a year. But other than that, my soul right now goes to the the program.
Right on. Where can our listener find your work to be able to connect with you?
So all of my stuff, if you want a one-stop shop, is bazille.info. That's BAZILLE.info. From there, you can access my Instagram, my Facebook. I have a discography page there where it kind of shows and give explanation to each album I've released or that's available now. And then soon through that website, there's going to be like exclusive things that you can only buy through the website. Like, a lot of people miss my college albums because I vaulted them. I'm starting to kind of remaster them and re-release them secretively through there. I don't think they'll be on Spotify or anything, but we'll be through there. And then I'll be doing some like YouTube stuff. So follow me on YouTube as well, Bazille. My music's on there, but also like I do behind the scenes documentaries, beat making videos. And then soon I really want to do like all of these things I love and I love talking about. Might as well just say it to the camera and post it on YouTube. So I want to do some videos talking about the history of Buddy Rebbo, Peter Lafarge, Jackie Bird, all those people I talked about, but then also other like random things I'm into too, like horror and video games and wrestling, things like that.
Nice. Well, we'll put links in the show notes for our listeners to find you. So, yeah. Well, Talon, thank you so much for sitting down with me and having this interview. This was really great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that does it for this episode of 5 Plain Questions. I want to thank Bazille again for his time and sharing his story with us. Bazille is one of the best of us in our community. His drive, his awareness, his focus on creating opportunities for youth are most impressive. So much of what he talked about, I could relate to as a kid myself, from wanting to be a professional model maker for ILM and trying to figure out how to create a blue screen, now called a green screen, and wanting to be a filmmaker, but I just couldn't afford a camcorder. And growing up on the res, those opportunities didn't exist. And so I feel all of what he said. So, Bazille, thank you for what you're doing. And I want to thank you for joining us and spending your time listening to what I feel is a very important story and perspective from our community. So please, join us next time as we speak with another incredible person. I'm Joe Williams. Thank you for listening to 5 Plain Questions. Your support helps us keep these conversations going. You can follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And to stay connected, visit us on 11warriorarts.com to explore past episodes, check out our exclusive merch, and to sign up for our newsletter. Every listen, share, and purchase helps support this podcast. This episode was made possible with support of the Waterers, whose dedication to community-led change and disrupting traditional philanthropy inspires us all. To learn more about their work and how you can get involved, visit their website at www.waterers.org. That's WATERERS.org. Thanks for listening. Support for this podcast also comes from Art of the Rural, working to advance rural culture and equity through collaboration, media, and the arts. Special thanks to the Indigenous Association in downtown Fargo for generously providing their recording studio space. Their studio is a welcoming resource for creatives and community members alike. Our episodes are produced and edited by Pod for Good. Jess and the team work tirelessly to create the high-quality episodes you're listening to right now by removing all of my ums and quirks. Well, that does it. You take care, and I'll see you next time. This has been an 11 Warrior Arts production.